Getting off the Metro Line A one stop later than the night before, this time at Ottaviano, I had a short walk of a few blocks south through Prati to my dinner destination on Via dei Gracchi. I was eagerly looking forward to my dinner at Pulejo Ristorante, it having been one of my first reservations for this trip. Once I was comfortably seated, I chose my mineral water from the selection of 3 still waters out of 7 total, a filete from Lazio. The 7-course tasting menu called Ignoto, or Unknown, with wine pairing, was quickly ordered, and I was able to concentrate on the homemade grissini, homemade semi-whole wheat bread, and the butter from the prized Piemontese Vacca Bruna cattle breed. The bubbly to start off with was a Franciacorta Satin from Camossi, made from 100% Chardonnay. 3 pale porous stone rectangles appeared, each bearing an amuse-bouche. At the front, unfortunately out of the orb of the table light, a little tart with purslane, a special treat in my eyes, with mackerel in dill-flavored mayonnaise. Moving towards the back, the second tart bore a pecorino foam, with a vermouth gelée and snips of green onion. And at the back, a mini tramezzino with chicken livers and drops of raspberry in the middle, plus other ingredients I couldn't write down fast enough. All served the purpose of augmenting my anticipation for the first antipasto. That soon arrived, its beautiful presentation having been carefully assembled in the kitchen. Less visible from the diner's angle was the base made from chickpea flour. At the top was a finely crafted rose of Carosello del Lazio cucumber, a short, rounded variety which is prized for its delicate flavor. Concealed between it and the base was a raw white prawn. This composition sat amidst a swirl of homemade kefir flavored with fig leaf. I was feeling happier by the minute. This dinner was going to be the delight I had hoped for. The sommelier arrived with the follow-up wine to the Franciacorta, a 100% Verdicchio from Umani Ronchi in the south of the Marche, made from grapes grown on vines planted in the early 1970s. I should note here that Umani Ronchi has just been declared the 2024 Italian Winery of the Year by the Gambero Rosso Guide. A cloud of foam was what greeted me from the second antipasto. On top of steamed local cuttlefish, there was a beurre blanc with cuttlefish ink, which I believe, if my memory is accurate, constituted the foam. Underneath it, there was also some small white turnip marinated in sake, and you've obviously identified the Osetra caviar island in the foam at the top. Sweetbreads followed as the last antipasto. I love sweetbreads, and they're very much a feature of the Roman culinary tradition which focuses on organ meats. Here, the sweetbreads were cooked in butter and served with smoked oysters, concealed underneath, and a chard leaf draped over the top, all of which rested in a dense, reduced beef stock. Sumptuously rich and immensely satisfying for a sweetbread lover like me. Follia, folly or madness, take your pick, was the name of the next wine made by Piana dei Castelli in Lazio. The sommelier told me the restaurant only serves wine from small producers. In this case, fewer than 1,000 bottles had been produced. It was made from Grechetto, Trebbiano, Malvasia, Sauvignon Blanc, and Riesling. It was to go with both primi, the first of which were eliche, the propeller-shaped pasta. They're colored green here by the crunchy cavolo nero, black kale leaves, and the dark green at the bottom is a cream of cavolo nero. Invisible here beneath the greens and the pasta was a tartare of cannocchie, a Mediterranean variety of mantis shrimp. Color contrast was provided by mild, creamy white beans from Piemonte and a generous scattering of black truffle on top. a dish which was a treasure of luxurious flavors, blended with earthy legumes and vegetables. The second primo is a signature dish of Davide Pulejo, the chef. The head waiter explained that it has always been on the menu since the restaurant opened at the end of March 2022 and won its first Michelin star 7 months later. Called Mi Ro, which are the license plate abbreviations for Milano and Roma, it marries traditional preparations of two of the most famous classics of each city's cuisine. The Milanese saffron risotto is unmistakable. The island in the center is the Roman contribution, coda alla vaccinara, the oxtail stew, which is justly renowned. Traditionally, alongside the other slow-cooking ingredients, it is finished with a bit of bitter cocoa. Here, Chef Pulejo inserted his own personal tweak by adding a bitter cocoa gelée to encircle the island of coda alla vaccinara. I was given very explicit instructions to begin with the coda and then to mix everything together. Seldom have Milan and Rome had such a blissful alliance as in this dish. More madness in the next wine, or, as the label said, love and madness. From the biodynamic winery Podere le Ripi in Montalcino in the Toscana came Amore e Follia, made from 50% Syrah and 50% Sangiovese. I neglected to film or photograph the 3 lines above the label, encouraging us to be crazy, but I'm sure the reasons given are ones I couldn't argue with. Most certainly not after tasting the wine. I knew it would be a felicitous accompaniment, crazy or not, to the next dish, the secondo. On the à la carte menu, this was listed as guinea fowl in the style of Marco Gavio Apiccio. Who that might be was a mystery to me. The waiter explained. Marco Gavio Apiccio, who lived sometime between the 1st century BC and the 1st century AD, is considered the first historical source on Roman cuisine. He explained the details of the dish in front of me. On the right was the guinea fowl leg, wrapped in a vine leaf. On the left was the breast, with grape slices on top. As to the dense cooking sauce from the meat, it had been flavored according to the ancient Roman style chronicled by the aforementioned Marco Gavio Apiccio, with cinnamon, cumin, and coriander, as well as white and black pepper, but minus the leaves of rue, which were part of the tradition. Chef Pulejo had decided to leave them out. Not having any inclusion or omission to compare with, I was floored by the delicious intensity of the flavors and the tenderness of the meat, reflecting Chef Pulejo's immaculate technique. And I can't tell you when I last enjoyed sliced grapes. As I often do, I stepped outside to get some fresh air before I turned my attentions to dessert. Pre-dessert. A large sphere of almond foam, flavored with lemon balm and verbena, with licorice powder on top. That elegant long green leaf is a tagete leaf, adding a further lemony note. A delightful dessert in its own right, but the main dessert was something I'd spotted right in the beginning on the à la carte, and hoped the chef would have on the tasting menu. It was preceded by its wine accompaniment, a sauterne from Château Simon in Barzac, made with mostly Sémillon grapes with a bit of Sauvignon Blanc and Muscadelle. And now the dessert, a celeriac tarte tatin, with a small heart-shaped bowl of smoked fior di latte and vanilla ice cream on the side, and a solitary thyme leaf perched on top of the tarte. Celeriac is a vegetable I adore, but I had never had it as a tarte tatin before now. In that form, it comes with my highest recommendation, but you may have to come to Pulejo Ristorante to taste it. I was instructed to eat the tarte with my hands, adorning it with the ice cream, for which a spoon was provided. My curious glance at the dark chocolate-colored coil in the back got the slightly nervous response that it was not edible. It was a towel for my fingers. Chef Pulejo came out of the kitchen to introduce himself just before the Petit Four, so I was able to thank him for the brilliant dinner and ask him to pass on my compliments to the entire brigade in the kitchen. 4 Petit Four. From the front, clockwise and moving towards the light, a biscuit made from burnt grain with a pistachio ganache filling, a dark chocolate beignet with black pepper, an amaretto with lemon marmalade and a caper crown, and, on a separate board, an iced rectangle of dark chocolate with passion fruit. I wasn't entirely sure how to pronounce the restaurant's name, so I called up the next morning to inquire. The chef himself answered the phone, so I also got to thank him again personally for the memorable dinner the night before.